Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be doing some quick little love notes from your person. This is going to be a message cards only reading, and there are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Rose Quartz. Group 2 is the Black Moonstone. And group 3 is the Amazonite. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you would like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Rose Quartz. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say, I love you beyond bounds. So they're sitting in some sweet emotional energy right now, thinking about the vastness of your connection up to this point in time. Everything you've been through, the ups and downs. If you're in a challenging time right now, they are looking toward the future, looking to rebuild, looking to grow, do their part individually to strengthen themselves and ready themselves for a reunification with you. And thinking, it feels like, not just of the future, but even kind of on the soul level, thinking about the miraculous quality of the two of you having found one another in this lifetime. They may have recently had some past life visions, things that came through in the dream space or during meditation that have unlocked some door or have brought some kind of greater clarity to this person, that the bond that you share with one another is eternal. And so with that being said, the idea of challenges that you face in this particular lifetime, there's a sense of renewed strength and purpose that certainly in other lifetimes you faced challenges then as well, and you overcame and you endured, and fate and destiny and the power of love still brought you back together again here in this lifetime for another opportunity to experience the blossoming of love between the two of you, the rediscovery of one another again. And it is with this knowledge of timelessness that they are again very motivated to do their part to increase the pace at which they are exploring blocks within themselves that have prevented them from fully giving their cup of love to you, or which have triggered them when you have attempted to give your cup of love to them. There is a motivation here to do what it takes in order to grow individually so that your divergent paths may once again unify. They also say, you are my other half. So this is the yin to the yang energy. It really does speak, though, to a sense of finding that balance and fullness within themselves first and foremost, rather than trying to approach the situation as the two of you completing one another. There's an energy here of your person really striving to create, recognize, rediscover that innate wholeness within themselves so that the two of you can enhance your experiences with one another rather than being dependent on one another for that sense of fulfillment. They are endeavoring to really cultivate and strengthen that sense of fulfillment within so that what they have to bring you is something sustainable. It's something meaningful. It's something that will last and will help the two of you be able to endure future storms that may arise, will strengthen your bond and open the door to a greater experience of untapped potentials you have yet to witness and have yet to really capture and experience in this connection up to this point in time, that really are dependent upon that becoming the yin to one's own yang, so that when you are coming together as one, you are able to enhance beyond the need of needing one another so much on an egoic level, and rather to transcend into that arena of wanting, choosing one another out of a place of sovereignty rather than out of kind of a fear-based center or a place of lack where one or both of you may have been operating from in earlier stages of your dynamic with one another. They also say we share a telepathic bond. So through any kind of distance, separation, or even kind of a cooling off phase in your connection, if you're still in contact, or maybe contact has kind of ebbed back a little bit in the situation, your person is still reaching out energetically, conveying to you in vibration, in loving thoughts and feelings, words that they are nearing the point of readiness to speak out loud as they are kind of in their own corner, sort of doing that internal work, that spiritual maintenance, that process of becoming the yin to their own yang. They are deliberately and intentionally sending you love from afar as kind of an indicator that they will return, that they plan on moving closer towards you and this connection, that what you've experienced with one another up to this point in time is just a glimpse of what is possible, what they want, what they intend for the two of you in a longer term sense. There may be some exploration as well as far as the nature of that telepathic bond, the empathic bond the two of you share, rather than looking at the situation from such a 3D perspective, such a linear perspective, merely kind of taking in the physical, emotional, and intellectual qualities. There's a sense of your person really stepping into this kind of fourth aspect or fold of the dynamic between the two of you, which is that bond at the spiritual level. That is that soul connection that kind of transcends time and space. That has really captured their attention at this particular point in time. And it is in this place that they are finding sustenance and motivation and a sense of connectedness with you, despite all the complications or things that have yet to manifest and unfold, or things that have gotten a bit tangled and complicated in a 3D sense. That is the light at the end of the tunnel, is that energy and vibration of spirit and soul. That is the place that they are leaning toward. That is the place where they are, receiving kind of this inspiration and motivation to endure, to persist, to press forward in this process of personal growth and evolution so that they can grow back into your direction or start to lean more deeply into this connection and give more of themselves to you than they have up to this point in time. They also say the powers that are within you, believe this and you will achieve greatness. So this is kind of like power couple energy right here, a sense of the two of you being stronger together than apart. And it may have really taken distance, separation, or kind of a retreat, even just energetically speaking, from such direct or intense or regular contact between the two of you for your person to really recognize that, to really be able to have the opportunity to sort of separate the entanglement of their energy from yours, to really capitalize on their personal strength, and to find this center of magnetism within them, and then follow that course, that kind of etheric cord that leads them back to a place of unity with you. A sense of, vibrationally speaking, emotionally speaking, energetically speaking, they feel enhanced. They feel electrified. They feel very empowered in the connection with you, in ways in which it's difficult for them to achieve in kind of that volume, that velocity, that level by themselves. They feel to be working on the energies of learning to self-sustain, but are definitely becoming increasingly more aware that on the other side of becoming the yin to one's own yang is almost this acceleration of what is possible in terms of goals and dreams that the two of you maybe wanting to work toward, in terms of a sense of just energetically feeling better when times are good with you, when there's a nearness, when there's a closeness, a sense of the energetic connection between the two of you, really helping to keep the light on, the more constant recognition of who your person is at a core level, ways in which that knowledge or that sense of certainty and confidence may become a little more obscured as they are distanced from you, as kind of the complications and the pressures of the outside world or other people that they are surrounded with that are less awakened or less in alignment with them than you are at a soul level. It really highlights that their place of belonging, the place that feels like home, the place where they feel and are and experience what it is to be the best version of self. It is in this unification. It is in the nearness to you and with you, something that is very difficult to achieve and very kind of out of reach in the distance and space that may have been a necessary teaching tool for them to truly understand and grasp this phenomena through firsthand experience. They also say, always be gentle and kind because you will get more from honey than you do from vinegar. So this is kind of tying into the idea of they love the sweet and spicy aspects of your personality. But definitely if you have had some tense moments recently, some awkwardness, or they may be experiencing a bit of coldness, energetically speaking, from you as a result of something that had happened, maybe just kind of a misunderstanding or something outright that had complicated circumstances between the two of you, and so you're kind of leaning into sour times at present with one another. There's an urge to move more into the spectrum of sweetness. That your love is like honey. It nourishes them. It heals them. It uplifts them. It enhances them in a very positive way that makes them feel filled with potential rather than kind of like weighed down with sort of the artificial caricatures of what love and the exchange of emotional energies have been in circumstances that they have known of love and partnership in the past. And it almost feels like this truly sweet quality about who you are authentically, as much as you might not hesitate to kind of bring that spiciness out when necessary. They love these boundaries about you, that kind of pushback from you, but it's something that as much as you may have been pushed and pivoted in other directions, they really love the genuine and kind of limitless capacity within you to pour forth love very generously to yourself, and to also to them, even in kind of their worst hours, their spicy times. They still sense a lot of sweetness coming from you towards them. They're very much appreciating that you're still holding them in a very loving and sweet space, despite where you may be at energetically or literally at this point in a 3D capacity. They also say at present, a peaceful resolution and a quiet understanding is all that's needed. So they're definitely taking some time to reflect, and any kind of silence, disconnect, just some space that the two of you have needed from one another. And they are leaning more into the polarity of fighting against this connection less and less than they have up to this point in time, moving into a place of surrender, into that temperance energy where they almost may have kind of doubted this connection at first, or doubted you as kind of like too good to be true, but they are leaning ever closer to the sense of knowing all is well, all is as it appears, that the two of you truly are this deep and profound match for one another in a way that they have not experienced in this lifetime, that brings forth kind of all these answers of what they've been seeking as far as love is concerned, and yet raises so many questions about how they've been living their life up to this point in time, what they have come to define connection and partnership as, and it's sparking this curiosity for more self-discovery and to lean in closer to this connection to discover what can be experienced beyond just this point of like a peaceful resolution. What can that truly feel like to hold that place of peace and balance equally within each of you, and in kind of a varying capacity between the two of you? Times where there may be sort of turbulence, but then you're always coming back to a place of regularity with one another. And so it's an energy of being almost kind of like lulled by the connection, not into sleep or into a stupor, but just into a place of safety and serenity that has been very kind of unusual for them, very difficult for them to sort of find before, very difficult to achieve within themselves. You calm their fears, you calm their overactive mind, you lead them by just the living example of who you are to kind of a greater place of understanding and self-acceptance than they have known was even possible, or that they've been able to achieve on their own up to this point in time. They also say, I am the jealous type, so please do not try and test me. So there may have been a little bit of tit for tat going on in this situation. People testing one another's boundaries, a need to sort of like test loyalties, questioning of loyalties, any attention that they have seen that you have gotten from other people. This is something where it's sparked a possessiveness within them, which if you don't necessarily have a defined understanding with one another at this point, or if you find yourself in separation and so they can't rightly kind of lay claim to you as theirs in a direct sense, nonetheless, even just kind of the idea of you with somebody else by your side, or you giving that cup of love that they may have been hesitant to accept, or heard perhaps even outright rejected in the past, this is filling them with a sense of all then is not right in the world if I am not right beside my person, if I am not in close proximity to this, if we are not joined with one another, then it's almost like so much else unravels, or there's a sense of the two of you are really meant for one another, and that the idea, the concept, or even just what they've seen, if you've dated other people, or just attention you may be getting from other people, this may have been something that was kind of like toxic jealousy at one particular point in time that they are trying to sort of work through and understand within themselves, and find sort of a healthier outlet for that, working on some kind of lack within themselves that may cause them to question loyalties, or to kind of like feel the sense of possessiveness and yet hesitate to take action, which would solidify a claim or a cause for that, such as entering into a committed relationship with you, confessing their feelings for you, moving toward reconciliation. So any energy of kind of like trying to one-up one another, or efforts that they may have made in the past to kind of test your love, or make you sort of prove your love. There's an energy of surrender, not wanting to play these games anymore, and lean into a place where you are moving more toward open dedication with one another, rather than sort of testing the limits and boundaries of what each other will tolerate. They also say the feelings between us are mutual. So this can tie into unspoken truths and feelings. There may be a lot of chemistry between you and this person, but again, there hasn't really been an understanding about this. There hasn't really been that conversation. It's all just kind of theoretical. It's all just kind of telepathic. It all just kind of swims beneath the surface. And so they're leaning into a place of creating readiness within themselves to bring forth some sort of truth. To confess those feelings of regret at whatever has happened to kind of move you in separate directions, or perhaps this is kind of working up the courage to open their heart to you more deeply, or even for the first time than they have up to this point. They also say, I love talking to you. I feel like I can tell you anything without being judged. So you're definitely their safe space, their haven. They value your wisdom and insight, and just the space that you hold for them to be their authentic self. Boundaries that you have set when maybe they've been too controlling of the energies, or kind of talking over things, or just sort of dominating the conversations or the interactions. But at the same time, they're deeply appreciative of you yielding to the times where they may just need to decompress or vent, being that shoulder they can cry on. Again, that energy of sort of like wisdom and insight. It feels that you, on many occasions that you don't even realize, have helped to really lift your person's spirits, helped to really give them some sort of perspective that they were unable to kind of find on their own, or to help them to really sort of untangle some deeper kind of questions within themselves. You bring them a sense of kind of relief at being seen and understood so deeply for who they are at a human level. You make them really kind of move away from this connection, maybe just, regularly throughout their day, or any kind of distance between the two of you. You lead them to a place of questioning the masks that they have been wearing up to this point in time, to really start to self-examine and see avenues and aspects of their life that have been leaning toward inauthenticity. With you, they feel that they can be their true self. And so this connection, the experiences between the two of you, the vibration, the spectrum and current of energy which is tapped into, this is a guiding light which is helping to motivate them through a process of kind of untangling themselves from some knots within, moving beyond kind of boundaries to love, or triggered energy, or guardedness, anything that has kind of led to silence or distance, so that they can move back to this place with you of peace and tranquility, sort of a homecoming energy. There's a desire to reconnect with you, kiss and make up, and to do their part in order to be able to kind of create that reciprocal safe space for you to continue to express yourself authentically, to continue to feel safe to be seen for who you are in the same way that you have really given this gift to them as well. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got C, Z, P, O, W, L, D, E, W, B, M, Y, V, T, K, J, F, H, S, and Y. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading that involves more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance, so if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, group 2. You chose the black Moonstone. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say, I am learning to heal and soothe myself. So this can definitely talk about some inner child wounding that may have really surfaced, been triggered within your person through a recent or even not so recent encounter with one another that could have created awkwardness or distance between the two of you, almost like a reactionary energy on their part, or something where they blew something out of proportion, or kind of their energy changed, or their approach to you seemed very disproportionate to whatever the circumstances were on the surface. Something very benign sort of changed the tone between the two of you. And in the aftermath of this, even though it may be something that has not been spoken about, perhaps it's even just been glossed over if the two of you are still in connection with one another, your person is doing some reflection about that. They're taking inventory. They're almost replaying the situation and the scenario in their mind to sort of figure out what sparked this, what prompted this, why was I so triggered or agitated, or really just kind of brought to this sort of low vibrational or defensive or very confrontational place over something that was seemingly just very innocent on the surface. And so it's something where, as much as this may have left an impression upon you of like a lot of questions, confusion, you may have really started to kind of pick things apart and wonder, did you do something wrong? Are you to blame in this situation? Your person is also really reflected upon this. They have taken note of that experience as well. And it feels like very quietly they're starting to explore and kind of dig down beyond the surface of whatever this sort of trigger mechanism was, into the root of sort of what's the origin point of that, because it feels to be something that maybe the same kind of theme has surfaced in their life on multiple occasions, and it's led to disconnect and interference with intimacy with people. It has made people kind of move away from them, cut them off, or it is kind of represented like a wedge or a roadblock to furthering various connections throughout their life. And the importance that they are placing on this connection with you, there's a sense of not wanting it to end at this place, not wanting this to be kind of one of the defined borders between the two of you, but they actually feel to be in a very proactive energy of utilizing this as a teaching tool to unlearn some behaviors within themselves through a greater kind of awareness and understanding of sort of what the cause and effect was that was involved in all of this, but from the stance of taking personal ownership. They also say, you light my fire. So you have really ignited some passion, and it feels like also in conjunction with this energy of whatever was triggered, there's some illumination of like a bigger pattern, a bigger trend or tendency towards self-sabotage that maybe in the past, when circumstances similar to this kind of theme or this vein of wounding within has been triggered, they may have been very used to just kind of projecting the blame, burning the bridge, and that's it. Just kind of, okay, this is where the connection ends. This is the limits between me and you, and kind of how far we're able to go in this situation. But through the circumstances with you, it's almost like you've presented a different route very quietly, very unassumingly, without meaning to, and nevertheless something about kind of the perfect blend of the two of you, what you were building with one another, what you were sharing, and kind of whatever the circumstances were that led to this kind of difficulty or dissonance. It has happened at just the right moment. It's kind of the right convergence of events, and the importance, again, that is placed upon this connection and what they experience with you, that finally it's almost like you've gotten through to them without meaning to, in a way that other circumstances and people have failed to do in the past, or they have failed to do this for themselves in the past. And it's presented like an aha moment, an epiphany, something that they hadn't recognized or seen and had been in denial about within themselves. They're now finally motivated to start to do something about that, to course correct, rather than just circling round and round, allowing the same wound to kind of play puppet master to them any further in their life. They feel to be in this place of motivation to heal that, to understand that more, to no longer allow that to be just a current or a possibility that sort of swims around under the surface and represents almost like eggshells then that other people have to knowingly or unknowingly sort of tiptoe around when dealing with your person, that they're really starting to take personal ownership of that and to course correct, which may be something very small. It feels like they're dealing with this very privately at this particular point in time, but it represents a major leap forward for them in a way in which this is something that's kind of a deeply entrenched issue. This is not the first circumstance that something like this has happened. They also say, when I think about the future, you are always there with me. So plans and preparations to return, to reunite, or a sense of almost wanting to become better, become stronger, become kind of smooth out some of the jagged edges or these triggers within themselves, in order to not just continue to repeat cycles and patterns with you, but to really experience profound growth in a way that can be lasting and fulfilling to the two of you, so that there's no longer this need to kind of walk on eggshells, or almost like you've tripped over a landmine within this person, without knowing that it was even there, or even they didn't really recognize that it was so close to the surface, or would kind of present itself in this way, in this connection, and whatever sort of destructive energies or confusion or chaos has really ensued, they're trying to do that repair work so that they can bring you a more healed version of them, someone that is more trustworthy, energetically speaking and emotionally speaking, so that trust can be reestablished between the two of you, so that they are in more of a solid place of almost self-knowledge and efforts to kind of course correct in their own life, as kind of one of the steps along a bridge that they are wanting to build, rather than burn down, or to rebuild if it already has been burned down between the two of you, so that you can move beyond this experience, strengthened, within, your person within themselves, and then hopefully to kind of strengthen the connection between the two of you moving forward from this point. They also say, there's no place I'd rather be than with you, locked in a tender embrace. So this is the energy of wanting to kiss and make up, wanting to move closer towards you, wanting to come out of hiding, come out of this kind of like guarded and almost like thorny energy of sort of, that guard has gone up, that landmine, that tripwire has been hit, and something within this person has kind of disrupted the momentum of what the two of you were building or experiencing with one another. They're trying to kind of ease themselves back off of that triggered place to kind of heal and dismantle this trigger within them as best as possible through educating themselves, through introspection. So that they are able to approach you with more of the energy of yielding, as opposed to being so kind of linear or reactionary in their approach to you in the situation, or even this may lean into kind of deeper wounds and triggerings as far as like intimacy and partnership in general. It may have even just been the two of you got really close. They found themselves opening their heart to you, maybe very silently, energetically speaking, and that triggered something within them, something that they didn't know was kind of right on the other side of that door, something very unexpected. With that is almost a sense of embarrassment that they would give you this kind of indication, even if that was just energetically, and then this is what what you find when you've kind of accepted that invitation to enter this person's heart space, energetically speaking, and then to be confronted with kind of this sort of turn of events of something that was very triggered, or very just kind of oppositional, and kind of almost made you sort of have to move away from the connection, or maybe they themselves sort of, ran right after they just stepped things up in terms of the level of intimacy between the two of you. But there is a desire to learn from this experience, grow from this experience individually, so that they are able to come back to you more comfortable with kind of the flow and the possibilities of what the two of you can experience and express to one another emotionally, either directly in words, or even just energetically, kind of the merging and the blending of your unique frequencies with one another. They also say a cozy cuddle with you is just what the doctor ordered. So again, this energy of like kissing and making up, a lot of self-healing that's taking place. And it feels like even this experience with the idea of lighting their fire, you've activated some sort of self-healing mechanism within, that it was almost, they didn't know they had this within them. They didn't know it was possible. They may have just resigned themselves or resolved themselves to, this is just one of my triggers. This is just one of my wounds. This is just how I am. It's who I am. It's too deeply entrenched within me to change. So, this is just kind of, this is the limits of where I end. This is the limits of, the experience of intimacy between two people. And it may have even led to kind of a defeatist attitude in terms of the potential they saw with you in the past. And when that kind of borderland was reached, as they kind of almost anticipated it would at a certain point in time, and then however the situation became awkward, complicated, or unraveled, rather than just leaning into a place of chalking this up and kind of discarding this as just another sort of failed attempt at love, or kind of a limited and experience of intimacy and partnership that came with an expiration date, and kind of moving on from that point. They even said, almost surprised themselves with sort of this initiative, this motivation, or even the knowledge that, hey, I can heal this. I can do something about this within myself. It's worth it to at least try, so that I can come back toward this person, come back toward this connection, with something to actually show, something to demonstrate, most likely by way of a changed energetic approach, kind of bringing down those barriers, kind of putting that sort of thorniness, retracting that a bit, and coming to you with more of a softness, more of a generosity. If outward apologies are owed, this can also be something that they are in the process of strategizing that, but it feels like it involves a lot more apology through changed action and changed behavior and changed energy, rather than just words alone. They also say, can we talk? I want to confess my feelings and desires for us as a couple, together, united in love and purpose. So they may have actually been on the brink of confessing love to you, deep feelings for you, having the talk, having the conversation about wanting to take things to the next level, or open that door to, explore matters of the heart in a way that you had not done up to this point in time. And kind of a step in that way, a scene that they had set up, or a sense of like, this is the night, this is the day, this is the time, this is the conversation, it feels so right. They took a step forward only to kind of fall back a couple of steps. Almost the energy of kind of moving towards this, giving you the impression, or outwardly kind of saying something that was an invitation to step closer, to build kind of this bond between the two of you, and then sort of following that up with very mixed signals, a very different sort of reaction the next, at the next moment, or the next time you dealt with them, that may have led to a lot of confusion, and a sense of, this is just, there's clearly some kind of a tangle that needs to be unraveled, or maybe there's hurt feelings involved that need to now be sort of repaired, and the damage kind of corrected in that capacity. But this is indicating that, they want to come out of the silence. They want to, provide you with something, an openness of communication, maybe an explanation. For some of you, this is going to be somebody who's going so deep in terms of that introspection, that it's not only going to be opening the door and confessing feelings, but really giving you a more concise understanding of kind of their issue up to this point in time, with leaning more consistently into that intimacy. ways in which they may have wanted to approach this situation, wanting to speak this truth, wanting to confess their feelings and love, and yet they've held back or they've given you mixed signals. For some of you, that's going to be involved in this conversation, and it's really going to be reflective of a deep period of introspection, a deep dive that they are currently in, that they're currently in the process of kind of cauterizing these wounds within. So that it's not just more empty promises. It's not just more, inviting you into the heart space energetically or kind of, through words and actions, only to kind of boot you out again, kind of push you away again as soon as you move in closer. There's this energy of wanting to kind of move into deeper harmony with one another, come into a place of union and co-creation, so that you can kind of strategize where to go from here, hoping that this is going to be a circumstance and a situation which strengthens your resolve to move forward toward the future with one another. But it also feels like kind of building the courage and the openness to sort of hear your side of the story, to hold a place for you to express and honor your feelings, which might not be so easy for them to kind of witness the pain or the confusion that they have caused in this situation through this experience, no matter how kind of minute or major this was. But they're working on that place of kind of healing and sort of forgiving themselves so that they are able to hold that space for you as well, to create that dialogue and that expression and that exchange of healing between the two of you then as well in the situation. They also say it would break my heart to see you with somebody else. So if they are at a distance from you, disconnected from you at this point in time, they are not wanting this to be the end of the story between the two of you. There is hope that you can restore the balance between the two of you. You can resolve whatever this issue is. When they think of the future, they think of you there with them, and there's nowhere else they'd rather be than in your arms. So it feels like they're very motivated at this particular point in time to try and come to a deeper understanding of kind of what part they played in whatever this kind of wedge is now that exists between the two of you, what they need to do to kind of dismantle those barriers, what they need to provide in order to soothe the situation and to build in a prosperous way toward a greater understanding and something more solid and stable with one another going forward. They also say, I may not always show it, but I care about you a lot, and I don't want to lose this connection. So again, there's this fear that is motivating them, that their actions up to this point in time, mixed signals, hot and cold energy, or a very specific thing that may have happened recently or even in the not so recent past, there's a fear that you will kind of look at this experience and you will start to set your sights elsewhere, that whatever they have conveyed to you or that they are presenting to you, there's a fear you're going to interpret that as kind of a true expression of the feelings they hold for you deep within, or kind of a lack of interest in evolving and growing this situation into something tangible and long-term. That couldn't be farther from the truth. They have deep feelings for you. They want to build. They want this connection to continue or to resume in some way. And so they're working on kind of creating that safe space and that healed environment within, so that their words, actions, and the energies that they are presenting to you correspond with that safe space that they're generating within. They also say, I miss you so much. My heart and soul are longing to be with you again. So they are very focused on restoration, reunion, rebuilding trust, leaning in deeper into this connection. Even if this is something where they just they got triggered, they got a little bit spooked. It created a little awkwardness, a little weirdness. Putting a lot of pressure on themselves to figure out what the motivation of that was. For a lot of you, this is something where they really had reached that place of confidence of like, okay, I'm ready to lean into the next level of this connection. I'm ready to let this person in. I'm ready to express these feelings that I've been holding inside for quite some time. And that point between intention and delivery, that's where things got really complicated. That's where it kind of fizzled out, or they fumbled the ball. There is a lot of effort at this point in time and attention that is being directed to changing those circumstances within themselves, so that they are then able to bring forth some kind of change to you, the restoration of loving energies, making of amends, proving through changed actions and energies that they really are intent on building something out of this kind of wreckage or chaos or confusion, providing some kind of clarity so that the two of you can move forward in the future with more of a deeper understanding of one another, of these feelings out in the open, and to take steps and efforts toward a horizon that they envision of the two of you together in a long-term sense. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got G, O, E, K, S, M, A, E, J, F, B, P, W, U, L, L, M, T, P, G, C, Z, and W. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading that involves more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance, so if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support over there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. I chose the Amazonite. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say, you're a reflection of me that both excites and terrifies me. So yin to the yang energy there. You and your person are really mirroring each other at this particular point in time. There's a sense of you representing the potentials of a better or best version of them. Everything that love could be, how that should be experienced, what that should feel like. You know, a sense of two people who are bonded in these similarities and yet honoring the space for one another's individuality. A bit of almost kind of the ideal partner that you check off all these boxes, and even boxes they didn't know that they had, things that they didn't think were possible in a partnership, and and yet here these things are. They exist as you, a real person in the here and now, that not only kind of fulfills and satisfies them on many levels, but it also is kind of this motivation or this encouragement and even a challenge for them to really seek and discover and transcend barriers within self, things that they may have really been settling for in terms of their life, in terms of their view of who they are, a path that they have been walking in this particular lifetime. You help them to really understand kind of a greater purpose for themselves, as well as experiences that they've been through up to this particular point in time, which is both a big sense of relief, and it's also this huge pressure to kind of live up to this higher potential that has been unlocked for them through interacting with you, through the experiences with you, and just through how you move through the world, who you are, how you have overcome challenges in your life. What you are choosing to do with your time on this earth plane and this incarnation, all of that, it fills your person with these big questions and provides so many answers, and kind of the weight and the magnitude of what has been opened within them and is now possible, and it feels like is more accessible for them than may have been the case or that they had believed was possible before. This is something which it's pulling them and drawing them to this higher timeline, this higher version of how they have been choosing to live their life, and then kind of motivation for changes, and yet at the same time it's kind of this pressure to act, or it's kind of a tall order to sort of live up to, that there are periods where they're feeling a bit uncertain. Imposter syndrome is something that really comes through with this card here, where you're motivating them to sort of see and recognize a better version of who they are than they have taken ownership of up to this point in time, and yet there are still these elements within where they question that. Is this too good to be true? Is this just a mirage? Is it an illusion? Do they really have what it takes within themselves to harness that potential within and to sustain and maintain that self individually and even in the context of the partnership? They also say, I lose myself in dreams about a life together. So daydreams, dreaming about you at night. You are their favorite distraction, their favorite temptation. There's a lot of energetic exchange in that capacity. It feels like your person is unconsciously manifesting a future with you by virtue of how much they're focusing on this. Through all of these kind of thoughts of better days and kind of these higher potentials, it is pulling into alignment that energy within themselves, very gradually, at times very quickly and unexpectedly. And so without kind of meaning to, they are actively working with you to co-create the connection through, the times, the unspoken words between the two of you, and all of these kind of indulgences or allowances that are given within yourselves individually, and then kind of in the shared energy between the two of you, to sort of bring into life, bring into reality, call down from the ethers and the firmament into the 3D material sense, the higher potential, a deeper understanding, a greater experience and expansion of your connection with one another up to this point in time, toward kind of more of that abundant and fulfilling future that the two of you both want within yourselves very deeply at this time. They also say we share a telepathic bond. So they are very cognizant of that. They recognize that words that they are not able to speak out loud to you, they are taking full advantage of that telepathic bond and kind of sending those messages from afar. Some may not even be really recognizing that this is happening. It kind of ties in with the energy of all of the thoughts and the dreaming and the daydreaming. It is essentially tapping into that etheric phone line between the two of you, this kind of like heart-to-heart energy, where you're really picking up on one another's feelings. Your high vibration is contagious to them, and they are also feeling the lows and the dips and the anxiety and the stress and the pressure, and so they feel like to be in a process right now of sort of trying to sift through what's theirs and what's yours, and how can the two of you sort of work with these energies individually and jointly in order to be able to kind of harness a higher potential in the here and now between the two of you. They also say, let's play a fun game to lighten up the mood. So there may have been some serious conversations, heavy energy, experience between the two of you, shared between the two of you due to even stress in one of your lives that the other has kind of helped to shoulder the burden of, or maybe just kind of a lot of this sense of unknowing or even trepidation on your person's part about those higher timelines and potentials. And then that imposter syndrome and doubt may have really kind of boomeranged off onto you. And so you're almost kind of bearing the weight of each other's burdens. And there's an energy here of wanting to move out of that heaviness into more lighthearted interactions. You help to raise this person's vibration simply through focusing on your own abundance and healing. You are a mood elevator for them in a very positive way. And they are leaning into the sense of recognizing you as their happy place and really wanting to take steps to be able to kind of step into that next version of themselves, that higher vibrational version of themselves, so that they can represent that for you as well, rather than kind of dragging the mood of your encounters with one another down, or whatever they're sort of sending to you energetically that you may need to kind of process or alchemize or even kind of guard yourself from. There's an energy of them starting to recognize kind of the reciprocity of these energies, the playback between the two of you, almost like a game of ping pong between your energies. And so steps that they are taking, small steps, and yet it's almost kind of like turning a corner of viewing this situation from a different lens and recognizing that, kind of it takes more than just one person endeavoring to elevate the mood. And so if you've been doing a lot of the heavy lifting in that capacity, or they've been very unconscious of the nature of who they have been exchanging these types of energies with, kind of where these sudden sort of shifts in mood have originated from, they're starting to connect the dots that the origin point is the dynamic between the two of you. And so then rather than just having you be the one to kind of deal with all of this and sort of sift through and process all of this on your own, they're taking steps to try and do their part, send you loving thoughts, send you loving vibrations, to try and soothe or again, send something from the heart when they're picking up on kind of these distress signals from you, energetically speaking. They're trying to shoulder some of the weight of the burden of this kind of these shared and exchanged energies as you're in this kind of transitional period in your connection with one another. They also say a long walk on the beach will refresh and center us both. So again, wanting to get away from the heaviness and the morose energies and the stress and the anxiety and the unknowing, sort of what happens next in this particular connection. A sense of wanting to kind of fast forward to that, going off into the sunset with one another and kind of living your lives on the other side of fear, on the other side of trepidation, leaning into that energy of possibility and potential and trying their best to kind of muster the strength and courage to really see themselves as that best version when they look in the mirror, in the same way that they see reflected in your eyes and that they feel in your vibration when the two of you interact with one another. They may also be spending a lot of time out in nature, trying to ground down and sort of purge and process a lot of the heaviness. It feels like on their part, they're starting to take personal responsibility for doing something with this kind of energy that is clattering around within, maybe different stress reduction techniques, partially to kind of ease the burden of what's exchanged between the two of you, energetically speaking. But a lot of that feels in a very positive way to be very self-motivated. They're understanding they have to self-soothe rather than looking out for some kind of remedy, that it's an inside job. And they're starting to really explore that in a different way. And the wonderful result of that, the byproduct in a very positive manner, is that it feels that it's almost a shift is on the horizon, or may have already begun, in kind of more of a flow and a fluidity between the two of you, energetically speaking, rather than so much turbulence and heaviness. There's almost, you're entering a period of like a lightening of this load, a better exchange back and forth, energetically speaking, which can then ripple out into your interactions with one another in a material sense if you're in contact, or may even kind of be that kind of first stage in the turning of a corner if you find yourself at a distance from one another, to moving back into that closeness, into proximity of reuniting with one another. They also say there's no place I'd rather be than with you, locked in a tender embrace. So they are wanting to kiss and make up. They are wanting to bond even deeply with you, more deeply with you than they have up to this point in time, rather than to continue to kind of deny their feelings, run from the connection. Find different ways to kind of numb out or avoid a lot of the heaviness and the uncertainty and the fears that are rising. They're starting to really face these things head on with the intention of really doing what they can, giving it their best effort to step into that better version of self, that more healed and self-sustaining version of who they are, what exists within, and what has really been illuminated or inspired through who you are. Kind of the reflection of all of the kind of contrast of both light and shadow within them. They're learning to digest this. They've come to a place of acceptance, it feels like, about the nature of that dynamic, and are just kind of struggling at this point with sort of, embracing kind of the fullness of all of the positive qualities that you illuminate for them, confronting some sort of personal darkness within, some sort of doubt or lack mentality, in order to kind of revive themselves, bring forth this abundance mindset so that they're able to bring you something that positively contributes to some kind of a future that the two of you can create with one another, or something that they can provide and give, by way of like a changed relationship with self, which then ripples out to how they are able to relate to you, in such a manner that you're able to build beyond kind of whatever lack has existed or hesitancy, into more trust and more abundant experiences with one another. They also say, I have a lot of fears and I'm not yet ready for a relationship. So they are a work in progress, and yet they are working on it. They are trying to build their confidence, their self-esteem. They're trying to understand some patterns within where this lack stems from, why they have such a hard time kind of embracing this idea, the reality of this best version of self that they see as possible, that they have gotten these hints and these clues and these indications through what they see in you, through that reflection of kind of this alternate polarity of how they've been viewing themselves and kind of holding their own energy up to this point in time. And so it's a work in progress. It's almost like the distance between the two of you at this particular point in time, they are using this to their advantage to benefit the overall upward trajectory of this connection. As much as they might not be at a place of being ready to articulate this yet, they may be able to only give very little to the connection at this particular point in time. They're working to transcend and overcome these fears so that they can move towards you with open arms rather than hesitation and doubt. They also say everything will be all right. You will see. We just need time and space apart to focus on our goals and dreams. So again, distance, separation, even if it's, kind of communication is sort of trickling down to a minimum, or there's energetic distance between the two of you at various points in time. They're taking some space, they're taking some quiet time, maybe detaching, maybe just kind of, they're going somewhere. They're going on a trip, like a weekend trip, a day trip. They're needing to kind of spend that alone time, that hermitage within themselves, in order to really be able to sort of process and to evaluate what are the barriers within me that stand in the way of awakening and embodying this kind of higher vibrational being that I know I am, that I know exists within, that I've gotten glimpses of in this connection, so that the more I embody it, the more that part of me is able to be the participant in this situation going forward. So whatever kind of space they have been needing to take for themselves at this point in time, whether they've articulated that or it's just been kind of like an energetic pullback, they do have the intention of emerging, of resurfacing, with more knowledge, more wisdom, and a higher vibration that it feels like they are cultivating within themselves for themselves, and in turn are intent on kind of providing and presenting and exchanging with you in the connection in the future. They also say, whatever this is, wherever this is leading, I want it. You are on my path for a reason, and I am so grateful for your friendship. So this can definitely be a circumstance of chemistry between two friends. Love has not been spoken of, feelings have not been outwardly addressed, and you're kind of dancing around that polarity of who's going to say it first, who's going to break the ice, who's going to break that wall of silence. And it feels like there's still more preparation that this person needs to do in order to get into that place of readiness where they're able to receive that cup of love, they're able to exchange that in kind. So again, any sort of distance or withdrawal, it is not forever disconnect from the situation. It's almost just kind of like they're revving up their engines to be able to progress towards you in a more profound way, in order to be able to kind of fuel and feed into what you are building with one another, what you have with one another up to this particular point in time, so that you evolve beyond friendship, you evolve beyond just kind of a limited or linear understanding and definition of your connection toward better horizons. Again, that energy of kind of riding off into the sunset with one another. They see future potential with you. They have their sights set on you, and a lot of these kind of changes and the motivation to become better and to eliminate those blocks within themselves that keep them from understanding that they are already whole and perfect, just as they are, with all those subtleties and nuances and contradictions. The effort to kind of fully embrace that and make that part of their waking reality, their kind of ingrained habit within self, all of that is in kind of the ultimate big goal, is sort of the preparation stage, to be able to meet you at that higher frequency, so that the two of you are able to really call down into material reality a higher experience of love and partnership than you have known and experienced before in this lifetime with one another. They are wanting to unify with you. They are wanting to build with you, but they're also understanding that in order to create something sustainable, it must be done from a place of equal give and take and reciprocity. And that requires them giving more to themselves at this particular point in time to raise that vibration, so that they have a higher quality of energy consistently to give to you in the future. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got F, T, O, G, P, T, P, O, W, V, H, C, Q, Z, J, B, and I. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading that involves more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.